Hi, friends. This is your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk about Taylor Swift, and we're going to talk about Charli XCX, and let's get into this. All right, so Taylor Swift just released her latest album, which is called Life of a Showgirl, and it features a song called The Fate of Ophelia, which, what's that song about? Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot there. And I will say, I could not bring myself to even listen to Fate of Ophelia or, um, or anything for the album. I didn't even click play. And the reason why is I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, but only the old stuff. Hey, Freebird, man, where's Shake It Off? Right? I don't want none of the new stuff. And also, I have to say, I'm still traumatized by Folklore. Folklore was one of the worst hours of my life. I thought it was some of the most indulgent, incredibly bad music I've ever heard. But Taylor Swift is incredibly talented, and she has a back catalog. And in that back catalog are literally some of the best songs ever written by an American. And so I do consider myself a fan of Taylor Swift. I just don't want to listen to anything new. Also, there's this really extremely like Taylor Swift is fascinating. Can somebody please explain this to me? Like, okay, what do we do with this? Right? She came out and she was like, "Hey, I had a terrible producer, absolutely horrible person, right? And now I'm going to take back all my songs. I'm going to own my own catalog, and now I can do what I want, right? What and yay, like yeah, you have independence now. That's fantastic. But what do we do with the issue of, okay, your stuff under that terrible producer was banger, and now you have all the freedom in the world, and everything you're making is so much worse than what you made under that terrible producer. Like, what lesson do we take away from that? How do we even process that? I don't know. I literally don't know. I think it's like an Ouroboros. You're like, what am I looking at? I don't understand how to even process that, right? Like, and I think we need to process that. We're like, wait a second, why did a bunch of banger songs come out under this terrible producer? Now you have all the freedom in the world, and every single song just seems to be incredibly self-indulgent and repetitive and lesser. Like, it's just, oh my gosh, that's bad. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so Taylor brings out her new album. Now, Taylor is very smart. She does remember a lot of the lessons of when her stuff was banger, right? And one of the lessons is, one, you better be making some pop music. Like, you can't just, like, you can't do Folklore on every album because people are going to get torqued, right? So you better put out some pop ballads, like. And so this one, I think she was attempting to put out some pop ballads from everything I've heard. But the other thing, so she was like, okay, I gotta, something you could dance to. It's got to be in there. But then also another one is, it's got to have a beef track, right? Like, if it's going to be a big, major selling record, it's got to have a beef track. It's got to have a diss track, right? It's got to be some mix it. Let's mix it up. Let's get some sassiness in here, right? So Taylor does a diss track on Charli XCX, right? Now, the only time I ever interacted with Charli XCX was, I really liked the Barbie movie. And so I listened to the entire soundtrack of Barbie, and Charli XCX was on there. She seemed like a middling pop star. I also know she is famous. She's been very successful because I also saw her on SNL, right? I watch SNL, so I got to see her episode, and she was okay on there, right? So okay music, okay, acting, okay, like no Dua Lipa, like, all right. So Charli XCX is there, and so Taylor Swift's like, oh, watch this diss track, Charli XCX. Wait, you ain't seen this coming. Boom, boom, right? And so she verbally punches, right? And so this thing gets released, and everybody's like, wait a second, did you, Taylor Swift, did you just do a diss track on Charli XCX? And Taylor's like, I sure did. Let's see what she says back. And there was no swing back, right? Because, like, everybody was like, Taylor, you don't get this. You don't get to do a diss track on anyone, right? Because you don't have an equal, right? Every person you would possibly do a beef track on, a diss track on, you're punching down, right? And that was the absolute narrative. Everybody was like, "Did you just say something mean about Charli XCX? She's got like she doesn't even have a tenth of your followers, right? Like, this is punching down, right?" And I agree. I think this was bad to punching down. I think Taylor Swift punched down. I also think Taylor Swift, actually, I don't like her current music, but she's got plenty of fans, right? So she doesn't need me, right? So she's still doing great, and she's crushing it. She should still be in the music game because she can still put butts in seats and deliver, right? But what's interesting is she absolutely got hammered on the internet for this, saying you punched down. And it's the moment I heard it, I'm like, oh my gosh, she can't diss anybody because it's going to be seen as punching down, because she is sitting on Mount Everest, and at the very peak of Mount Everest, you can't, like, there's only room for one, right? If you put two people up there, one of them's going to fall down, right? There's only room for one person to stand on the peak of Mount Everest, and she's the only person there, right? Like, she has no equals. So she was absolutely, without a doubt, punching down, right? So with that said, where do we land? Very, very interesting. So, and this is, so let's pop over to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is exactly the same. It absolutely has no equals, right? We just got through the Daggerheart event, August 21st, 2025. Daggerheart was whole. It was the sword of Elendil. It was Narsil, right? It was ready to slay the dragon of Dungeons and Dragons. It was ready to be the D&D killer it was forged to be. And Critical Role shattered it, right? Like, it was like, this is never going to be used against Dungeons and Dragons to defeat it, even though it could defeat it. We don't want to do the work, right? We don't want to be working 60, 80 hours a week for the next 3 years to be at the top. We don't want every single post. We don't want 75% of all posts on the internet be saying we hate Critical Role because they're top of the game and we don't like that they're winning, right? They're like, we ain't taking it. We're not doing it, right? So D&D is at the top, right? And what I think is really fascinating is D&D knows it's at the top, and D&D never, ever punches down. Go on. I've been there. I have lived on Twitter for a while, and what I've seen on Twitter is OSR and indie creators, guys literally with their own TTRPG company. Oh, D&D's garbage. Oh, D&D's garbage. Oh, D&D's garbage. People who literally create their own books, they're actually TTRPG creators. So many of them in the OSR and indie, they punch up, right? They're like, I'm going to take swings. I'm going to take swings. I'm going to take swings. And this is not their community. These are literally the creators. Just like, hey, D&D is garbage, right? Just going pell-mell and harming Dungeons and Dragons. And it's tough. It's really going at Dungeons and Dragons, right? I don't know if they're harming them because they are so far below it. Are they even landing any of those jabs, right? So, but they're like, the OSR and the indie swing at D&D constantly. But D&D is not like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift did not know that she was so high up, she had no one to punch, right? Like, because any punch, any verbal punch was a punch down, right? She cannot diss anyone because it's going to be seen as a punch down. When you're at the top of Mount Everest and you punch, you're clearly hitting somebody down, right? Like, and what I love about this is seeing this in real time reminds me of a great attribute of Dungeons and Dragons, its designer and its creators and its distributors and its protector. Hasbro is fully aware that Dungeons and Dragons has absolutely no peers, and so you will never see, you'll never see the creators of D&D like saying, hey, this OSR game, this indie game is garbage. You'll never see it. They never punch down, and I don't think they get credit for it, and I want them to get credit for it, and that's why I'm bringing it out right now. Taylor Swift did not know she had no ability to verbally punch anyone, right? Because it was going to be, but D&D is aware, it's self-aware, it knows it has no equals, no peers, right? And I think that's awesome. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.